Kia ora, nau mai haere mai. Welcome to the App Smashing webinars. My name's Donald, and I'm behind the camera over there is my friend Jesse, who is here to look after you in the chat, so I can hopefully not get too distracted by chat while I'm going through my slides. And there will be time at the end for any questions. So make sure that if you've got something on your mind, you want me to go over anything, you can type it in the chat. Jesse has also put the bit.ly link that's here in the chat. So head over there and you can click on that. And then you can bookmark it for yourself. So you can go back to these slides whenever you want. This webinar is also being recorded. So it's going to go up live on YouTube. Or not live, recorded on YouTube for you to be able to watch whenever you want. So if you miss anything, or if you want to share it or anything like that, I'm going to share the link to it later this week once it's been recorded and uploaded. So welcome everyone to App Smashing number 4. This one we're calling Sprite Yourself. So we'll explain what that means as we go in. But the purpose of these webinars is to combine 2 different digital tools and to see what can be created by smashing those digital tools together in an effort to just kind of break away from the norm, try something new, try something different, challenge yourself, and see what you can create. So if you're unfamiliar with these tools, then you probably need to do a little bit of extra work for yourself just to understand what these things are. I'll try and explain things in terms that people understand. But if you're unfamiliar with the tools, then I highly recommend spending a bit of time for yourself, just understanding what they are and what they're for. So I'll start with the Karakia and then we'll launch straight into it. Feel free to join in if you like. Karakia timatanga. Tēnei te Māori ka piki aki ki te rangi etu nei. He rangi atua, he rangi tipua, he rangi tāwhito. Kia whiti ko te mātaranga. Kia tau ko te mārangatanga. Whaia kia tāta, puratia kia mau. Haumie huie tai kie. So this Karakia, it actually came to us from the Kia Takatu and Matahiko Digital Readiness Program that both Jesse and myself actually participated in, delivering professional development around digital technology around the country. We did that a couple of years ago, and I really like that Karakia as a way of announcing the challenge to seek out new ideas and new knowledge and take it on board. So that's why I'm using this one here. Who am I? For those who don't know, if this is the first App Smashing webinar you joined in, you might not know who I am. So my name is Donald. I'm originally from Scotland, and I've been working here at Te Papa for nearly 5.5 years, or just over 5.5 years. And so my role at Te Papa is as a learning specialist. I have a background in lots of different informal education roles. And I just really love being curious and playing with different things. The museum is a wonderful place to work. We have a fantastic team of people who all work together to try new creative ideas, responding to the nation's taonga and collections. And so in my role here, I've had the opportunity to explore lots of digital tools and awesome ways to get creative with them for young people who come into the museum. And so I really want to share the successes that I've had and the ideas that I've had using digital technology in creative ways. And that is the purpose of these webinars. So today, the Wero, the challenge that we are answering is explore combining PixlrX with Scratch. And I've said in the note there that what we are doing with PixlrX, it's not actually specific to PixlrX as a tool. There's lots of image editing programs out there that do this. And so you might be familiar with something else which does a very similar job, and you're very welcome to do that. But PixlrX is really cool. It's an online free image editing tool. And so you can access it from Chromebooks and Macs and iPads and all different kinds of things. It doesn't really matter which device you use. And PixlrX is quite nice because it's very kind of touchscreen friendly as well. Works quite well with tablets and Chromebooks and stuff. It's a fairly slimmed down image editing tool. It does take a little bit of trial and error to figure out where everything is, because it's tried to make itself nice and clean and tidy. So PixlrX, what is it? It's a free online image editing tool. It has very similar functionality to Photoshop, and it allows you to work in layers. So that's unlike things like Microsoft Paint and things. So the idea is that you can stack different images on top of each other and play, which allows you to create things like digital collage and the like. You can also export images as a .png file type, which supports transparency, and that becomes important in lots of different places nowadays when in graphic design and using images in different things. So transparency is really useful, and there's lots of really fun tools and filters to explore in it. There's this picture here is just an example of some student art created using PixlrX, and also our collections online. So copyright-free images from our collections online, and that's really fun. You can tell amazing, wild and wacky stories by mixing images together like that. Scratch, on the other hand, is a free 3D coding platform, which many teachers nowadays are aware of. It's kind of the go-to coding platform for kids. If you don't know Scratch, if you're unfamiliar with it, then click down here, and that'll take you to a very short introduction to what Scratch is and what it's for. But it's been designed as a tool that makes coding fun and easy for kids. And one of the really great things about it is that they've made it available in over 60 different languages. And Te Reo Māori is one of those languages. So if you are someone who's working with bilingual or kids who are fluent in Te Reo Māori, or even adults who are fluent in Te Reo Māori, then that's a really nice way to challenge them and do something fun and interesting, is try and figure out what those code blocks actually might do, and understanding instructions. So Scratch has been around for quite a long time. There's now lots and lots of public projects available, and you can actually remix other projects that people have created and share the projects that you make with the community. So that is what Scratch is. We did another webinar earlier this year as well about coding cartoons. So I've just posted that there as well for people to watch. So Karakia, let's give it a go, see what we can do. So I'm going to head over to my Chrome, and I might need to just slide that out of the way so I can see. So this is Scratch over here hanging out, and we've also got, I need to just do this to find my Pixlr. There we go. So we're going to come back to Scratch. This is what Scratch looks like over here. And earlier, I took some photographs of myself in front of the green screen, which you should be able to see up there. And so what we're going to do is, we're going to head over to Pixlr, and I'll show you something fun that you can do in Pixlr. So I'm going to open an image. I'm going to find the image I want. Here it is of me standing. And I am going to remove the background so that I look like I'm going to just exist inside the world of Scratch, inside the kind of game world, coding world of Scratch. Because if I uploaded this picture of myself with the green background, it would look like it was just a still photograph. So what I'm going to do is first of all, I'm going to crop this image a little bit. Get rid of this section of background. There we go, and hit enter. So I've used the crop tool. And so now all I've got is this green background that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to use this scissors tool, cutout tool. There's different ways to use this cutout tool. I'm going to use something called the magic cutout tool. And I'm going to, when I select the things I want to get rid of, I want those things to be removed. And the tolerance down here is quite important. So I'll just give you an example. If I use the magic tool and I click on the background there, then it gets rid of some of the green, but not very much of it. There's a whole lot left. So what I can do is I can undo that and I can increase the tolerance, which increases the number of different colors of green, because I'm selecting green, that it will remove. So if I bring it up to about 50 and click on it, it gets rid of a lot more different colors of green. Not quite all of it though. So I'm going to increase it again, maybe up to 60. And that gets rid of even more. So that's about as good as I need it to get. I can do a little bit of tidy up by selecting the brush. And I'm actually going to reduce the fuzziness of that brush. And then I can just paint away, like an eraser, paint away that green. There we go. So I've taken a photograph of myself in front of a single colored background. I've removed the color of the background and I'm going to save it. And you'll see it's got a kind of checkerboard pattern behind me. And that's to indicate that it's actually transparent. So I'm going to select that and give it a name, because you're always going to name your files. Standing. There we go. Download. And so that downloads it to here. And now, if I head over here to Scratch, what I can do is, the way that Scratch works is that you use blocks of code. These are blocks of code to control sprites. And at the moment, the code I have is when I press the M key on the keyboard, my little Scratch character will change to the next costume. All right, so I can cycle through those and make Scratch look like they're dancing or doing some kind of sequence of exercises. And I've also got another sequence of code that says when the Go flag is clicked, Scratch will repeat 10 times, pick a random number and go to that costume. So those are different ways to select things. But why code a completely neutral cartoon cat when you could code yourself? So there's lots of different sprites to choose from. If I just click choose a sprite, you'll see there's lots and lots of different characters and fun things to choose from. That's all well and good. Oh yeah, if you put your mouse over them, they also cycle through their different costumes, so you've got an idea about what they do. But why do that when I could upload my own sprite? So here I can choose my sprite and upload it. There we go. And so I could choose to code myself. And what I've actually done is I'm going to hide that one. And I'm going to open this one instead. And I am going to reveal this other one I made. So this is one I made before, and this has multiple different costumes. So I can click to the costume tab, and this shows you where those costumes are. So Scratch the Cat doesn't come with all these costumes, but I went into choose a costume and I found other cat sprites here and I added them. So I could add further costumes. So I could turn Scratch the Cat into a lion if I wanted to. There we go. So now by pressing M, we can cycle through the different costumes that Scratch has, and eventually Scratch becomes a lion if I want to do that. So that's how you add new costumes. For the sprite of myself, I started with this costume of me standing up, and then I found another photograph of me with my arms outstretched, and I removed that background using Pixlr, and then I added that, uploaded it, and then I did the same thing with one of me turning to my right, and because you'll see with this t-shirt on. And then for this one, I didn't bother taking another photograph and editing it down of me turning the opposite direction. If you've got a good eye for detail, you notice that these are the same picture, just horizontally flipped. So if I want, I could add another costume of myself by duplicating this one. And I could call it upside down. So these are just fun ways to play with, if I do that, fun ways to adapt and play with and add costumes. And so once you've got all of these different costume options, then it means you can use the code blocks to code dances or exercises, or you can also add things like speech bubbles, which might say things, or think bubbles for yourself to think things. So there we go. I might be able to think things or say things. Hello, hello, hello. This is a very Donald thing to do. Move around a lot and say hello to everyone. There we go. So just very simply, you can take photographs of yourself. If you remove the background, obviously this wouldn't have the same effect if it had a whole lot of green around me. It's useful to be able to remove the background because then you can have overlapping characters. You can also add a backdrop and then hopefully convince your audience that you are actually in that place. Maybe I'm on a boardwalk. There we go, hanging out with Scratch the Cat on a boardwalk. There we go. So very quickly, you can create a scene, and it actually features something that is better than a generic cartoon character. And that's just using free online tools. If you want to be able to get an image onto your computer into Pixlr, lots of Chromebooks and things will now come with the camera on the device. So using the device to take the photo is a good way of doing it, or taking a photo with a phone or something else and emailing it to yourself is a good way of doing it as well. So that's just how to take the real world, turn it into a sprite, and create images. And of course, if we go back to my slides, the image that I showed you of this wild background that was created using PixlrX and images from our collection online, you can create backdrops yourself. You could take photographs of local wild spaces or your school or wherever it is, and you can use those as locations inside Scratch to be coded. So there's plenty to explore. I really like being able to find ways to, any tool that allows you to upload your own content, for me, is just so much more powerful than things which force you to use their models and templates and things, because it allows you to make it meaningful and authentic to the learners themselves. So we gave it a go. Connections to the curriculum. Why might you do it this way? So digital storytelling is just going to be so much more impactful and powerful if the stories that are being told are about the learners themselves and feature the learners themselves and things that are important to them. So it could be featuring literally them and images of themselves, but it could just as easily be photographs of objects that are important to them or places that are important to them. The images can come from photographs they take, or it could come from image research that they do online through Google. It doesn't matter, but being able to see how you can upload images into Scratch, which can then become codable, movable resources, is really powerful. And for you as well as teachers, as Kayako, you are able to create like a template set, if you like, on Scratch. Make that Scratch project public and shareable, and then your students can access it, remix it, and download it. So you could preload a Scratch project with certain sprites and certain backdrops that have been created. Or you could get some kids to create that template set, which other students end up using, if you like. So obviously, with all of this block coding, then you're able to do lots of work with computational thinking and designing and developing digital outcomes. If you are creating authentic outcomes using PixlrX, you are ticking off plenty in the DDDO progress outcomes. If you are using Scratch and with an authentic context, then you're ticking off your computational thinking outcomes, which is great. I really like being able to explore ways of smashing that together with kind of health and fitness and PE stuff, talking about instructions, whether it's creatively for dance. Loads of people are really into TikTok dance videos and stuff. How about some kids create an instruction set that slows the whole process down and uses weight blocks in Scratch to be able to do a pose, wait a second, do a pose, and then you can have kids writing the instructions for a dance. Being able to teach somebody something else forces you to understand it more deeply yourself. So enabling kids to create those kinds of instructions is a really good way for them to embed that learning in their own minds. Or creating things like social scripts for students as well, if they're trying to understand processes within a class, it might help them to see themselves in that social script, and working with those students or them setting up for themselves is a nice way of setting it up. Yeah, I'm sure that you can think of your own contexts, but those are some kind of basic ideas that I think this would be useful for. So next week, the challenge is we're still going to be sticking with Scratch, but we are going to be pairing that with Tinkercad, which is a 3D design tool. So Scratch natively uses block coding. Tinkercad, as a 3D design tool, has some secret block coding powers. And if you don't know Tinkercad at all, I highly recommend you jump in and have a look and see what it does. And we are going to look at comparing and contrasting the 3D design tools of Tinkercad as block coding versus the kind of the 2D design aspects of Scratch. And we'll see what we can do with both those tools side by side. It is now your time to play. I highly recommend you open up Scratch, you open up PixlrX, you see what you can draw into Scratch. Lots of coding ends up being very dry and confusing because if you don't have an authentic context, it's really hard to justify why you're doing it. By using PixlrX, you can turn anything into your context that you are coding. So use PixlrX, put something into Scratch that you and or your students understand, recognize, value, and find ways to tell a story about that using Scratch. That's my challenge to you. We would love to have your feedback. If you are enjoying these webinars, please fill in the feedback form. I believe Jesse is in the process of adding that Google form link to the chat so that people can get access to it. If you want to stay up to date with these things happening, then get in touch through the Te Papa Learning Facebook page. Feel free to ask us any questions, share anything that you are creating through our Facebook page. That would be wonderful. We'd love to see that. And if you are enjoying these webinars, good news, because we've got lots of webinars still coming up. There is going to be a really excellent webinar next week, all about Pacific Navigators. This is going to be the last ever webinar by Rarang Matihiko, which is a project we've been running with funding from the Ministry of Education, and it's we have educators up in Waitangi and also at Auckland Art Gallery, and our own educators here at Te Papa, and they're going to be doing a kind of multi-site extravaganza all about Pacific navigation. So if that floats your boat, pun intended, then get onto that webinar because it's going to be really amazing. So here we go. Karakia whakamutunga. I'm going to, maybe before we close, I'll answer any questions that are there. So Jess, can you? Do not have any questions. We have no questions. This time, I think you just blew everyone's mind and they're excited to go and code themselves. Wonderful. I really hope that people have a go, because it's really fun and it's lovely to just find more ways to use these tools and make them make sense to people. The number of times that we do scratch coding or have done scratch coding in the past, and kids just end up getting very distracted by the fact that they can make scratch the cat, make meow sounds, and that's all that happens for 10 or 15 minutes. And it's just giggles and fun, which is fine, but moving beyond that is what we want to be able to encourage kids to do, because everyone is so conditioned with press a button, make a giggle happen. So much of digital technology nowadays is about consuming the instantaneous, and we want to empower kids to actually care about what it is that they're creating. So that's what I'm looking for authentic contexts, and want to share that with you. So thank you everyone for showing up. I will send out a link to the recording when it's online. Feel free to share it with anyone who you think might be interested. And yeah, great. Use my ideas. Great. Please use my ideas. Yeah, I'll hopefully see you all again next time. So, karakia whakamutunga. Tēnei te Māori ka heke iho ki te whenua e takoto nei. He rangi atua, he rangi tipua, he rangi tāwhito. I whiti ko te mātauranga, i tau ko te maramatanga. Tēnei ka hikitia kia wātea. Haumi e, hui e, tae ki e. Thank you very much, everybody. Mā te wā.